Alright, so welcome C. Today we're going to finish our HTML from yesterday, and then we're going to go ahead and start our CSS, okay? So do you have the CSS template forked?
Yeah, I have
Okay. So let me open up the Replit template. Okay. Hi, Skylar.
Hi, Skylar. Hi, Skylar.
Good morning. Okay, so I was just saying to see that we're going to finish our HTML and then move on to your CSS. So if you don't have your CSS forked yet, can you do that? It's on the Google Classroom under classwork. Right now, I have my HTML template open. Let me know when you have it, Skylar. Also, see, you said you had it, right?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay.
Yeah, I have it.
So yeah, Skylar, let me know when you have it so we can get started.
Skylar, I don't think your audio is working, so maybe you can just type in the chat. She has it.
Alright, so we left off at tables yesterday. So when we want to actually make a table in our browser, the reason we would want to do that is to collect some data. You know, forms are also used to collect data, but tables are not to collect some data, but to display data. That's much better. To display some data in your browser. So the first thing you want to do is you actually want to use the table element. So you're going to do, that's the start tag, and then the end tag, make sure you write it after the table body. By the way, if you haven't noticed yet, these are called comments. So if you don't know how to do them, you start with an angle bracket, an exclamation point, 2 dashes, and then you write what you want to write. And then you do 2 dashes at the end, and then an angle bracket at the end, okay? So that's how you write a comment. All right, so this is your start tag for table and your end tag for table. Now, the first thing you want to do is realize that the table element has a similar structure as the HTML document. There's a table head and there's also a table body. Just like an HTML document has your head section and it also has the body section. So, but in this case, the head means basically the column names. So the way you're going to do this is you're going to specify T head. So you're going to use a T head element. You're going to click enter and then you're going to close it. Some people call this fed. I like to call it T head so we don't get confused. So table head. Okay. Now within the table head, you're going to have to specify a row, right? So the way you do that is TR stands for table row. And then you're going to click enter and you're going to close the TR tag. So you have, usually there's only going to be one head. There's only going to be one row for the head section because it's only going to be one column. You're not going to have multiple names for one column. So the way we do this is within the table row, you're going to add your table heading. So that's TH tag. So your table heading, let's say we want to display like a little bit about ourselves. So that would be your first heading name, so name. Let's say we want to do like a table about the Empower.py team. So we want the name, like this is on our website and we just want people to know, to have information on us, okay? So let's say we also want to know their emails so we can contact them. And we also want to know, what else do we want to know? Let's say, I don't know. The number, right? Okay. Let's call this phone number. Maybe a professional phone number. Sometimes we have those. Okay, now if you run it, you can see that this is an actual row and these are actually the name of the columns. But right now we don't have any data. So how do we add data? Well, that's when the table body comes in. Anything that you want, any data you want goes in the table body. So similar to how there is a T head element, there's a T body element. So you want to do your start tag and then close your tag here. Okay? And then again, you want to specify a new row. So you're going to do table row and then TR and then close that tag there. Now within this row, notice that this is only one row. This is also only one row. You could do another one, but it wouldn't really make sense to do another one in the head because then you'll have like multiple names for one column. But it does make sense to do more than one row for your data. So let's do more than one. So this is going to be row 1 and this is going to be row 2. So now inside the first row, let's add table data. So the way we do this is with a TD tag. So it stands for table data. So TD. And let's say the first name, right? So Sarai. The second data we want to input is our email. So I'm going to do Sarai at Empower.py.org. Let's fix that really quickly. And then the last data point we want to put is my phone number. So let me do 000 as a phone number. Okay, and when we run that, we can see our name, our email, and our phone number. Now it's a little bit offline here, but not offline, what do you call it? Unaligned. But we can fix that with CSS in a second. Okay, so that's what that is. Let me actually delete this last one here, just so it looks more aligned. Run that again, and then it looks a little bit better here. There we go. Make sure I forgot to put a closing tag for the name one here. Okay. Now let's say we want to do another row. We want another person. Well, we can do another TD tag, and let's say Janelle, right? And then that would be her name, and then the next data input would be her email. So that would be Janelle at Empower.py.org. And when we run that by clicking Control Enter, we can now see that this is a table, right? So this is the first row with our column names, and then we have the first data type, which is my name, then the second one, which is my email, and the same thing with Janelle and her email. And then these each are two different rows. Hold on, let me highlight this correctly. These two rows are represented by these TR tags right here. Okay? Let me know when you guys have that so we can move on to forms.
I have it.
Oh, Skylar, was that you? What was that scene?
That was Candida.
Okay, Skylar. Oh, because Skylar can't talk. Never mind.
She has it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
no, let me know what she says because I don't see the Google Meet.
Yeah, she has it.
Yeah, she has it.
All right, moving on to forms. So forms is something similar. You have a formed element, so you're going to start with just the form element, and we're going to end it right here before section 8 buttons. So let's end the form here. Okay. Now, when it comes to forms, there's going to be two things that you need. You need a label, so like kind of like a column name or like a heading name. You need a label. So label, what do you want this input to be, right? And then you're going to actually need your input, right? So that's going to be what type of input it is. Is it going to be a text input, an email, a password, a file, etc.? So I'm going to show you really quickly what that looks like. So first you're going to do your label, which is the name of your input. So let's say we have a contact page in our website, and we want to have a place where they can just send us a quick message through our website. And so we want to do a form, right? So we want the first name, we want the last name, like an email, and etc. So let's do that. So we're going to do first name, and then the input tag, there's an attribute called type, and we just specify what type of input this is, and it's a text input, okay? Then we're just going to give it a name for the coder's sake, whoever's reading this, or for as page information, right? It's not the actual thing that's going to show up in the browser. This is the label. So we're just going to give this first name, and then make sure you close out with an angle bracket. Now when you run that, you can see that you have your first name, so that's your label here, and then you have an actual input where you can write your name, or just first name, okay? And you can do the same thing with your last name. Let me just change it to name. Okay. Now it's just name. So Sarai Monte. Alright. Okay, the next input you would have is an email. So let's say you want to collect some emails, so you're going to write email. okay, as your input. So let's run that and see what that looks like. So you just have email here, okay? And then you're actually going to specify your input. So that's going to be type equals email with a capital E. And let's just give it a name for page information, email. Okay, run that. And now if you hover over it, it's actually going to give you an options of emails, which is super cool. Okay, like that. Then you have password inputs. These are all different types of inputs. So again, label is password. And then the input, the type is going to be also password. Let's give it a name of just password. Now there's something else that I would like to show you, and it's called placeholder. So placeholder is an actual attribute, and what that does is within the actual box it says like a little text of like what to put. So I'm just gonna say enter your password here, and then make sure you close that tag and then run it. And then when you run it, you're going to see the password input, and then inside you see a little bit of text in gray that says enter your password here, right? And when you enter it, you can see the difference that it's actually it's using the dots, so it's a password input, so whatever you put is not visible. So that's super cool. Now let's say you want to collect some files, like let's say you're a graphic designer employer, you need a graphic designer, and so you want to collect some of their work, right? So again, we're going to do the label element, and let's call this, I don't know, your portfolio. Oh, what is that? Let's say portfolio. Okay, and now for the input, we're going to do a type equals file, and we're going to do name equals file, and then go ahead and close that in, close that tag, run it, and then you're going to see that it's going to give you a portfolio as your label, and then you have this like button called choose file, and when you click on that, it brings you to your thing. So you could be like, oh, my profile picture, but it's not going to upload anything because it has no functionality yet. This is only still HTML. Okay, now there's another one called text area. Now for this one, you still need a label, so we're going to call it, let's say, your message, right? So let's say we want to message, we want to give them a chance to message us or something, like to leave us a message, right? So the way we do this, we could do a text, a type equals text input. We could do a text input, but there's a better way to do this. It's called a text area tag. Now what this does is it actually gives you like a little box that you can resize. So so the only actual value that you're gonna use is just give it a name, and you can just call it message. And let's end that with text area. And make sure that it's within the start tag. Any attributes, again, within the start tag. Okay? And then run that. Let me scroll down. Okay, now you can see that there's a message, and then there's a little box that you could actually resize to make it bigger. Okay, and then you can actually write your message here. Okay, now the last input I want to show you is a drop-down menu. So again, label. Now instead of an actual like name, we're going to ask a question. So let's say, do you want a copy of your message? So like, let's say they want to send in a message. Now, do they want a copy of their message? So in this case, what we want to do, there's a different type of tag that we actually have to choose. There's a select tag, and there's also an option tag. So the select tag looks like this, right? So there's a select tag, and then you want to go ahead and end it. Okay, now within the select tag, you want to go inside the start tag, and you want to use the attribute name and set that equal to, let's see, set that equal to, just set it equal to options. Okay, and then inside the select tag, you're going to, there's an actual tag or element called option. So this is where you actually write your options. So let me go ahead and close that in. So where you want your content to be is between the start tag and the end tag, right? So that's going to be yes. But you actually want to give it a value here inside the option as an tag as an attribute, and you want to set it equal to yes. So that's going to be your value. And then you want to do this another time, a second time, and instead just write a no. And then close your tag. And when you run it, you're going to see the question, do you want a copy of your message? And then you see a drop down menu, yes and no. And then it's super cool because you can actually see it drop down. Okay. And then, let's see. So yeah, that's the only difference here. So you have a select tag, and then you have an option tag. Now the value is not the same as the actual name. This is what shows up on the browser. This is what shows up on the actual content is what shows up on the value, but then on the browser, excuse me. But then the value is just for page information. Okay. Now there's something else we could do within a form, and it's called a submit button. So for this one, there's an actual, we're still going to be using an input. So we're going to do input, an input tag. We're going to do name, we're going to do type, and we're also going to do a value. So the name is going to be, let's just say, button, okay? The type is going to be submit, and then the value is what's going to show up on the actual browser. And let's actually do enter so you guys can see the difference. Close your tag and then run it, and then you're going to see that this button right here says enter. So when it comes to buttons as inputs, the value is what you're going to see as in your browser as your output, okay? You could also change it to actual submit. So I'm going to actually change it to submit because it makes more sense to submit your message. And now you see it as submit, okay? Let me know when you guys have all of that so we can go on to another way to do buttons, okay?
I have it.
Okay.
I have it.
All right. Perfect. So now another way to do buttons is actually using the button element. So this is outside of forms, and all you have to do is just write what you want the button to say, close that tag, run it, and then you see another button right here called enter. Okay, so that's pretty simple with the buttons there. Now for images, so here's a little 3 exercises we're going to do. We're going to be importing a regular image, changing the size of an image, and adding a hyperlink to an image. So for importing a regular image, we're going to use this img tag, and we're going to go ahead and close it out. And inside the start tag, we want to use this attribute called src, which stands for source. So it's equivalent to our a tags where we used href, hypertext reference. It's the same thing. We're just going to use it's the same thing. You're just going to use a link. So what you're actually going to do is you're going to go to Google. Let me share my screen. you're going to go to Google and you're going to search up whatever you want. I'm going to search up coffee. Let's go to images. And I'm going to just choose a random image. So let's choose this one. And instead of downloading it, all you're going to do is you're going to right click and then you're going to copy image address. Okay. And if you actually want to use this image, I'm going to share it here in the chat. 1 second. Okay, and you're going to go back to your Replit and you're going to paste it there. That's a long image. Oh my gosh, wait. Let's run that, see if that works. It works, but it's like a really long image. Let's see if we could find something, another image that has a shorter link. Okay, much better. I'm gonna go ahead and post that in the chat. Okay, there we go, an actual link. Okay, so instead of what we just put, let's actually change that. Delete all of this because it's taking up a lot of space. Okay. Go back to your source, delete all of that, and just paste this short image here. Now if you run it, it's going to look a little bit big here. So if you actually open it in a new tab, if you open it in a new tab, you're going to see that it looks really big. Okay, and maybe you want to change the size of it. So that's what comes in, what the next section has to do with. Okay. So to change the size, you actually can go inside the image, and there's actual attributes to change the size. So you could do the width and set it equal to 200, and then you could also do the height. And
stuck on the screen.
Hey, stuck on the screen.
Oh, I didn't share the screen. Sorry about that. Thank you for letting me know. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So you go into the image attribute, and not the image attribute, excuse me, the image element, and you're going to use this attribute called width. You're going to set it equal to 200 pixels, and then you're going to do height and set that equal to 200 pixels. And when you run that, sorry, what?
Is it width or width?
Oh,
is it width or width?
Width. Okay, and now when you run that, it's going to look a little bit smaller. Okay, so we could also do this with CSS, which is what we're going to do. I don't recommend using these attributes here because, again, you don't want to style with HTML, you want to style with CSS. Okay, so that's changing the size of an image, and then the one last thing for images is adding a hyperlink to an image. So the way you want to add a hyperlink to an image is, let's say you want to, when you click on the image, it takes you to, let's say, Google. So you actually want to start with an A tag, right? So let me close that in for you. Okay. And inside this H tag, you're going to do, again, your, inside the start tag, you want to do href, right? Let's say Google, so https:// google.com. Can you put that in the chat, Janelle? and then you're going to close your end tag, and then inside, right, so right now if you actually run it, there's going to be nothing because you need to have actual content here to click on. So instead of text, right, instead of writing text, you're going to put in an actual image tag in here, okay? And we're actually going to just take this one right here and just paste it in. We could do that. And when we run it, right, because whatever is in between the start tag and the end tag of the A tag is what is the content that's going to appear. So now we have this link, this image, and when we click on it, it's going to take us to another page. So let me actually open this in a new tab. Okay, so when we click on this last image here, you can see the difference. This one doesn't have, the mouse doesn't change. If you click on the last one, it's going to take you to Google. Okay. Oops, stop sharing again. All right, and then lastly, we have semantic tags. Now, semantic tags are basically elements that you can use for styling per se, but really they're not meant to be used for styling. They're just meant to have just for structure. So sometimes, this is a perfect example. So sometimes people who are deaf or people who can't see, the computer tells them, like reads the actual code for them. So you sometimes see, like, I don't know if you have an iPhone, but sometimes like there's like this thing where if you turn it on, it tells you, it's like for people who can't see. So it's like it tells you where things are. And it's kind of auditory. So that's the same thing with computers. Like it tells them where things are, and your HTML code actually tells them where things are. So for example, if you use a block quote tag, it's going to tell them, hey, this is a quote. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to use a block quote tag. So first we're going to write a paragraph. Let's do lorem 20. See what that looks like. Run that. And once we have this paragraph, let's say this paragraph is an actual quote. So I don't know if you've ever written a research paper before, but usually when you have more than a few lines to cite, it usually ends up as a block quote. So what that means, it's just going to be indented. So you're going to do the actual block quote tag. And then you're going to end it right here. So you're going to surround the paragraph with the block quote. So now it's indented. So now what that does, this is kind of like a styling thing, right? So you could use it for styling, but it's not recommended because it's not really meant to be for styling. It's meant to give the HTML page more information and and what the structure is. And also it uses, it helps people with auditory issues, not auditory issues. It helps people with people who are blind or people who cannot hear, and it gives them more information about what it is that they are, what the web page is that they need to be, that they're seeing. Well, if they're not, oh well, never mind. They can't be looking at the page. Okay, this is really bad. The web page that's on their computer, right? Because, yeah, so if you run it, you see that it's indented. Okay. Like, I don't know what to say. I was like, wait, if they're blind, they can't see, so I can't say that they're seeing the website.
They can hear what.
They can hear what the page
they
is
can
telling
hear
them.
it. Yeah.
Basically.
Okay, so that's it for HTML. So let me know when you guys are done with that, and then we can continue on for with our CSS. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to go to your Replit. Oh, do you guys want me to stay on the HTML so you can see?
I don't think they're done. So.
Okay, so
I
let
don't
me
think they're
just
done. So.
Oh,
done.
okay, they're both done.
Okay.
Oh, both. Okay,
So
they're both
open
done.
your CSS templates that you copied already. Let me do that myself. Oh, I also wanted to say, I don't know if you noticed, but for the HTML template, the last one wasn't semantic tags. It was actually named block quotes. So if you just want to change that on your side of the template, just so you know, because I know I changed it. Okay, so this is our CSS template. I mean, at least my copy of the CSS template should look the same to you. Okay, let me know when you guys are there so we can get started.
I'm there.
I'm there.
Okay, so for CSS, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually write our HTML code first because CSS is a styling language, so we need actual content to style. So we're going to write our HTML code. So this is kind of going to be like a little practice for you of what we just did. Okay, let me delete some of this stuff. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is write 3 heading 1s here. So try not to look at what I'm doing and try to do it yourself, just so you can practice. And then let me know when you're done. So 3 heading 1s that say heading 1. It's a little complicated. You could just write it one time and then copy and paste it 2 times. So when you run it, it should look like this. Let me know when you guys have that.
I have it. I have it.
Okay. Skylar, do you have it? Okay. So for section 2, 3, and 4, we're going to be using one paragraph to explain everything. So just click on lorem, click enter without a space, and then just run that paragraph. Okay. For section 5, we're going to be using one link. So let me do, again, google.com. Let's do click here. So make sure the reference is to google.com and the content says click here. For section 6, actually let me know when you're done with both section 2 and 5, 2, 3, well I mean 2 to 4 and then 5, so we can take our time with section 6.
Okay, I got it.
All right, for forms, you're going to do a form tag. Now, when you do a form tag, then you want to do, for each input, you want to have a label and you want to have an input, right? So we're going to do like a contact form where people can contact us and leave us a message. So we're going to do first name, right, label, and then we want the input to be type text. And name, let's say first name. Close that in. Copy and paste that two times actually. And then just change this one to last name. You can leave the type text. Just change this to last name. And then the third one we're actually going to change to email. So change the type to email with a capital, not capital, lowercase email. And then, oh, notice I didn't put an equal sign, I put a dash for some reason. Okay, and then let's just leave this as email. Run that, and then you're going to see that this is first name, last name, and email, and we have our inputs, okay? And then lastly, let's do a submit button. So let's do input, name, submit, type, submit, and let's give it a value of send. Run that. Oh, we forgot the actual message thing. So let's do label message right before the button. Okay, starting tag, close tag. Then you want to use your text area element, and all you're going to have to do is give it a name value. Sorry. Just give it a message inside. We don't want it to say anything. Hold on. There we go. You don't really have to put anything. You could put a name just for the sake of it. For the sake of format. Okay, there we go. But you don't really have to put the name. And I even spelled it wrong. Okay, but notice how we don't even have to specify the type for the text area element, because the text area element is it's its own type itself. It's like it has its own element, right? So if it weren't, we would have had to do like text area here instead of email or instead of text, etc. Okay, so let me know when you guys have all of that.
I have it.
Okay.
I have it.
So, oh wait, that was C. Let me know when you have it, Skylar.
She has it.
Okay.
She has it.
For our next section, which is, let's see, buttons, we're just going to write a normal button. So let's do enter as one button, or let's just, instead of enter, let's actually write button 1. And let's write here, let's do 3 buttons and then change them to button 2 and button 3. Run that, and then we should see button 1, button 2, and button 3. Okay. And lastly, for the images, we're just going to add one image. Let me see, do I still have the link? So use this link again and insert that link to your source. So SRC again stands for source. Paste that link in there, and I put it in the chat, and then close your link tag. We'll close your start tag first and then close your actual image. Did I say link tag? I did not mean that. I meant image tag. Okay, run that. And then you should get your image here. Okay, and this time we're not going to resize it. We're going to leave it like that. Okay, let me know when you guys have all the HTML code.
I have it. I have it.
Okay. So now that we have that, we can finally start with CSS. So I want you to do yourself a favor, go to Files, and then click on your style.css file. Okay. So once you're there, I believe you're going to see this little note I left you so you can kind of understand the format or the anatomy of CSS. So the first thing you want to ask yourself is, how do I target HTML code in a CSS style sheet? Well, maybe you want to first ask yourself, well, how is it possible that my style.css knows what I'm talking about? Like, how does it know what I'm referencing to? So if you go back to index.html, you actually see, if you go back to the head section, if you remember, this is actually where you referenced the style.css, right? So that's how your style.css knows that this is this page that it's styling, okay? So, but yeah, let's go to the essential question, which is, how do I target HTML code in CSS? Well, there are 3 ways. There is, oh, by the way, a / and a asterisk makes a comment, okay? A comment. So there are 3 ways to target. So there is an element. So you could target it as an element, as a class, or as an ID, okay? So the way you target is by using a selector. Now these selectors, again, could be an element, a class, or an ID. I'm going to show you what class and ID mean in a second. But inside the selector, right, this is the selector. Once you have curly brackets, whatever's in this these curly brackets is a declaration. This is where you're doing your styling properties, and then you're setting your properties equal to a value. For example, one property can be the background color. So the background color is a property, and you're going to set that background color equal to, let's say, blue. So blue is your value. But let's say you want to have your selector. So what are you setting your background color to? Let's ask this in a better way. What element are you declaring this styling property to? Like, what is this styling property going to apply to? What element? And so that's where the selector comes in. It's either going to be an element, or it's going to be a group of elements, or it's going to be a single element, okay? But I'm going to show you, actually Janelle's going to show you an example in a few, but I'm going to show you actually what the difference between a class and an ID is. So if you go back to index.html and you kind of go down to the form, do you see how it's all like very cluttered together? So we could actually fix that. So let's actually go to the form, right? So there's this thing called a div tag. It stands for division, right? So this is a div tag. It stands for division, and what it does is it makes sections out of your web page. And the way we target selectors is by using, not target selectors. The way we use selectors, again, is either by a class or an ID. So div tags have these attributes called class, right? So let's actually, before we do that, let's surround this input here in a div tag. So after it, make sure you end the tag here. So let me click enter. Okay, so now that it's in a div tag, you want to run it, and now you see the difference. So first, it was here in first name. You see the difference because last name is now under first name instead of it being on the side of first name. So it created its own section. You can actually see the same difference with a break. So let's delete the div tag, run it again. See the difference? So now first name and last name are in the same line. These are called inline elements. What a div tag does, it creates block elements. So it makes it more like a block, like a square, so on top of one another instead of on side, a side inside? Beside each other. much better. So if you actually use a break tag in HTML, that's going to give you also going to give you a little break, right? So now you see that it's on top of each other. But the reason you want to use div tags is because you can do something really cool. You can actually target this this group of elements here just by putting them under a class. So let's call this form input. Okay. So if you want to call this form input, run that. It's going to do nothing. Okay. And if you go back to style.css, and let me actually show you something. You know what, guys? It's 10:58. Let me see. Yeah, I don't think we have time to finish.
And
Yeah, I know. So you're just gonna have to do the example tomorrow, finish CSS tomorrow, and for the 2 minutes, let me actually forget. Just leave it like that. But I'm gonna show you something a little bit better. Do you see like these 3 buttons here at the bottom, guys? What you're gonna do is you're gonna do a div tag there. I'm gonna show you real quick, and then you're gonna give this a class of buttons. Okay, let me know when you guys have that. So you're going to surround it with a div tag, and then you're going to give it a class of buttons. So all of these buttons are going to be under the class buttons. Okay, let me know when you guys have that.
I did it.
Okay. If you go to style.css and you the way you target classes is by using a dot. So you're going to do dot buttons, okay? You're going to do curly brackets, so that's your selector, right? This is how you target it with a class. And inside you're going to do a property called, let's say, background color. And you're going to set this property equal to any color you want. We're going to do just blue. Right, and what that's going to do is going to change the color of all the buttons. Well, the background color of the actual buttons. Let's actually change this to just color itself. Let's see. Background color. So it's going to change the background color of where all the buttons are. Now, if you change the color to... Yeah, it's 11 a.m. So we're going to finish this tomorrow, and I'm actually going to restart it, like the explanation, because it was really, I was rushing here. So don't worry about the div stuff. Just, we're going to start from the beginning for CSS tomorrow. Okay, guys? All right.
hello?
Hello?
All right, you guys can leave. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm free to stay. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good
Bye.
day.
The meeting is not ending.
I don't know.
The
I
meeting
think it
is not
ends
ending.
if there's more than one person. That's weird. Maybe, I don't know, because I know Zoom has it where it just ends more than one person.